June 26th, 2005. I'm getting ready to participate in my very first Ironman. I was ready. I'd hit the send button on the registration 1 year in advance. The mental and the physical training started that day. I hired a coach. I sat down with her, and we made a plan that was customized to no end. It was perfect for me. It suited my lifestyle. It met my business needs, meaning I travel a lot, and it really was the perfect plan. What I loved about it the most was it was customized so that I could adjust it if I needed to. You know, if my travel schedule changed or I got injured, and I had the flexibility, it was fluid enough that I could actually adjust it if needed. And that is what I needed to hear going into this. I stood on the front line of Lake Coeur d'Alene after 72,000 yards of swimming, 400 miles of running, and 800 miles of cycling. I stood on that front line. You can see exactly where I am in that picture. I was about to take on my strength. The swim was easy for me. I looked out at the waters, and the winds were starting to pick up. The whitecaps were starting to come up on the top of the water. The helicopters were just thundering above, waiting for the start. The bubbles were coming up from the bottom, the scuba divers that were down there to keep us safe. I visualized where I was going, and I knew I could do it. I knew I could do it. The countdown started. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, boom! The cannon went off. I ran into the water as fast as I could. My head hit the water, my face was in the water, and I had a sense of peace. This is where I belong. I can do this. The cycling, it brings a different sense of calm for me. I know the hilly course. I know it's going to be windy that day. And I know the forecast is for rain. I'm ready. I'm ready. What I wasn't ready for is the cramps that started at about mile 78, shooting from the inside of my leg all the way down into my calf. Never enough to make me have to stop, but I certainly had to make an adjustment. Now, this is the point in the race where it really takes a turn for me. I am facing my most challenging event, the run, a full marathon. I see your heads going, full marathon, right? So I get off the bike, and it's always a struggle. The first 3 or 4 miles for most people, I've been on the bike for 6 hours. First 3 or 4 miles, it's tough. And you put one foot in front of the next, and you move forward. And pretty soon you're feeling better. And you have a sense of calm, and you know you're going to make it. You know you're going to make it. The Ironman lessons that I have learned have taught me so many things, but probably the thing that's had the biggest impact on me is the preparation and the planning that went into everything before the event. Today, we're going to talk about preparation, but we're going to talk about preparation from a presentation standpoint, and we're going to break it down into Ironman tactics. The Psychology Today came out with a report just last month, actually, that fear of speaking in public is still our society's #1 fear. It comes in before death, which means you would be rather be in the casket than giving the eulogy. Today is the day we say no more. No more fear of standing in front of people. No more fear of getting up and giving a presentation to my colleagues. Because today, you're going to learn the Ironman tactics. So let's break it down. We're going to start first with the introduction. Your introduction is your second most important aspect of your presentation. It's number 2. Right? Catherine Gower is a leadership and a body language specialist. And she tells us that people evaluate you in 7 seconds. 7 seconds is what the opportunity you have to make a first impression. To take that even further, she tells us that people look at your body language versus listening to the words that are coming out of your mouth. You have 7 seconds. So your introduction has to be pretty darn powerful. Okay, so your message, the strength is in your introduction. Start out strong. Start out really strong, and then we'll talk about the next sequence. So in order for you to prepare for your presentation, you can do a few things backstage that help you out. And I was just back there doing this, and I can tell you from experience it really helps. So everybody please stand up. And I want you to mimic exactly what you're seeing in the slide. And so hands on your hips. Men, you're going to have your feet a little bit more than shoulder width apart. Women, shoulder width apart. Comfortable. Relax your legs. Okay, this is called the power pose. The power pose you're going to hold for 2 minutes before you actually come out to give your presentation, before you go into your marketing meeting, before you go into your sales meeting. So your hands are on your hips and you're relaxed. Now I'm going to take it a step further and I'm going to give you 2 more things to think about in your 2-minute pose. Number 1, we're going to belly breathe. So deep breath in through your nose all the way into the base of your belly and exhale through your mouth. Just like yoga, right? Last thing I want you to do just before you fall out of your pose is just relax, shoulders back, smile. Look to your left, look to your right, smile at the people around you, and then drop out of your pose. What that pose does for you, and this is scientifically proven, is it elevates your testosterone, which is going to give you confidence, and it decreases cortisol, which is a stress-inducing hormone. You can go ahead and sit down. Do you feel empowered? All right. Second on our list of Ironman tactics is the relationship. The relationship is all about emotion. We have to connect with our audience emotionally in order for them to feel comfortable to make decisions and to take action. And so the relationship starts well before you're standing in front of your peers or well before the presentation. And many of you, I was out in mingling in the beginning of the presentation and I introduced myself to you, and many of you I had a conversation with. That's part of the relationship building, right? We want to connect with people emotionally so that we really have something to stand on as we're giving our presentation. Because if people like you, they will follow you. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Next up, we have opportunities. We want to be really clear in our presentation message of the opportunities and the benefits that people will have by following what you've asked them to do. So an example of this might be, let's say I'm a sales director, and I'm talking to my sales force about end-of-year things. So if we can implement this project by the end of Q4, we have the potential to increase our revenue by $1 million. If we can do that, your annual bonuses will also be positively impacted. Is that going to give your colleagues incentive to want to do that project and to move forward and to take action? If we don't tell them what their opportunities are for learning and change, have you ever heard the phrase, the person that welcomes change the most is a baby with a wet diaper? Most of us others go kicking and screaming into change. Next on our list are nuances. We talked about the power stance, right? The smile and using our body. We can use our body during our presentations and even elevate the engagement of the audience more. So a couple things we can do. Eye connection versus the oscillating fan, right? The oscillating fan is going to make the audience anxious. You feel like you want to include everybody. Another one, pacing, right? Pacing back and forth, and this is kind of a nervous thing. Everybody, people that are nervous will not know what to do with themselves. Am I distracting? A little bit, right? Your audience can't follow you as well. If you have intentional movement and the eye connection, you're much more likely to have your audience following you and really actively engaging. So intentional movement means never deliver the punchline while you're moving. So you make a point, silently walk to the other side and deliver the punchline. Okay, so that's intentional movement. The last nuance that I think is really important is opening up your body language. And so, again, when people tend to get nervous, they close up, they cross over, or their arms are behind. I've heard this position called the fig leaf, right? So see what happens to me when I do this? I become very small. I don't appear nearly as confident, right? And so opening up our body language, remember when I asked you to stand, I said, everybody please stand. I opened up my arms, I had my palms facing up, and I asked you to do a command. Versus pointing, okay, Kim, I want you to stand up, and I want you to stand up, and then a couple other people in the audience stand up. If you're pointing, it's more of an accusation. It's not as comfortable to people. And this makes you look like you're very confident. Makes you look like you are, right? Even if you're not. All right, next, our message. Our message is super important to know forward, backwards, right, left, inside, and out. You have to know your message and know very clearly what you are trying to achieve in your message. And so think about delivering your message kind of like dating, right? Dating. It starts off with a bang, right? It's hot and it's heavy and everybody's engaged. And then you kind of mellow out. You get to know each other a little bit better and you get comfortable. You have highs and you have lows. And then it climaxes. And I don't know what you're thinking about climax, but my climax is you either break up or you move forward in your commitment, right? And so in your message, your most important aspect of your message is your grand finale. Remember in the beginning, I said your introduction is your second most important aspect, right? And so your finale is your important, most impactful message that you should provide to your audience because that's what they're going to remember when they walk out the door. That's what they're going to remember. So follow this rule as far as developing a presentation. If you are using PowerPoint, follow this rule. 10, 20, 30. 10 slides every 20 minutes and 30 font. The 30 font's the killer, right? Everybody wants to put the stats and the bar graphs and the pie charts and the little writing and, you get into a presentation and you hear the person standing up giving the presentation say, I know this is too small for you guys to read, so I'm just going to highlight some of the things for you. What do? Oh, when's this going to be over? Right? So try to stick to that 10, 20, 30 rule. The A stands for action. Your audience wants you to succeed, and they also want, just like Steve said, homework. They want homework because they have to know how to apply what they just learned. Really, really important to give your audience a plan of action. And so follow the 3 W's. What would you like them to do? Who is going to take the lead? And when are you going to do it by? For example, next week at our staff meeting, let's talk about having Lisa come in and give a workshop to our team on presentation skills. Kim, would you like to take the lead on that and contact Lisa, find out what dates she has available, how much time she would need, and if she would like to do a keynote or a workshop for us? You think you can do that? Perfect. At the end of that meeting, we'll confirm a date, and we will move forward in scheduling that with Lisa. Okay, so you got all the W's in there, right? The what you want them to do, who's going to take charge, Kim's our lead, and when we're going to do it by. Give them a plan of action because it will help them follow through on the message that you've already delivered. Last is never, never, never give up. And you might feel like if you start to implement the iRONMAN tactics and the principles of delivering a presentation, you might feel a little awkward, right? Just like the first time you rode a bike or the first time you tried to run a race, right? The first time you try to do anything, it's a little bit rocky. That's okay. And you know what? No presentation is perfect. And you shouldn't try to be. People want to see your human side, right? It's okay if I come out and trip, or if I didn't say that exactly like I anticipated saying it. It's okay. And you should feel the same way. So take one part of the iRONMAN principles and start to apply them. And so if the most important parts are what? The introduction and the finale, right? So start with those two. I always tell people you eat an elephant one bite at a time. So you can't take everything on at once. Go for that small bite at a time. Start with your introduction, okay? Here it is. You knew it was coming because we just talked about it, right? My challenge to you is your next presentation that you have to deliver. And it doesn't matter who it's to. It can be to your colleagues. It can be to your managers. Whatever your next presentation is, use the iRONMAN principles. Apply some of the iRONMAN principles so that you can deliver an impactful message so that people take action. Is that something you think you might be able to try? Perfect. All right, this is a perfect place to stop and take questions if anybody has any. Who'd like to be the first person to ask a question? Anybody? Don't be shy. It's not like giving a presentation. Yeah. How did your iRONMAN go? Oh, that's coming. Hang on to that thought. It went really well, but you'll hear more about that. Anybody else? All right. Oh, go ahead. That font is 28. I broke the rule a tiny bit. Sorry. I'm a trained professional, yeah. Don't try this at home. Stick with 30. When you use graphic Dart, a lot of the times it won't allow you to expand up to 30, but I never go littler than 28. That's kind of my rule. Good question, and you caught me. All right. Any other questions? It was 8:30 at night. It was dark. It was cold. I'd been on the course for 13 and a half hours. The rain had come, and it was piercing my muscles because they were so fatigued. My husband was on a bike besides me all day. All day he followed me, riding on his mountain bike. Come on, Lisa, you can do it. You're so close. Come on, just suck it up. You can do it. You've trained for this for so long. Just get over yourself and go. Because that's what I needed to hear right then. Right? The tears were coming down my face at one point, and I was still running. I made that last left-hand turn. I'll never forget it. Hard left. And there it was, the 5-block finish chute. 5 blocks. That's all I had to go. And it was lined with 40 people deep with spectators. Everybody cheering and congratulating and hoopla-ing for every single person coming down that chute. And I took one step, put another foot in front of the other, and I picked up the pace. So I thought. It was still a shuffle. And I got down to that last block. And I could hear the announcer. And he said, Lisa Copeland, you are an iRONMAN. And my foot hit that finish line. I put my arms up in the air and I thought, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. And I looked up at the clock. I had accomplished a full Ironman, 140.3 miles. You don't ever leave that 0.3 out. And I looked up at the clock, and guess what my time was? Exactly that sequence of numbers. 14 hours, 3 minutes, and 10 seconds. What a day, huh? What a day. And I learned so many lessons from that event. I learned so many lessons that I went back and I did it again. Because I thought, anybody can do this once, right? But the biggest lesson I ever learned was the preparation aspect. The preparation is key in anything that you take on in life. So my last question for you today, as we end this wonderful day, is what's your plan? What's your plan to deliver an Ironman presentation every single day?